Milltown is the quiet little borough with its own attack helicopter. I've got 7 fascinating facts for you about Milltown, and some of them I don't think you've heard before. In fact, if you wait till the end, the 7th one I think is going to blow your mind. This is Monday Mornings with Mark. Hi, I'm your host, Mark J. Schmidt of RE/MAX Country and MoveMeMark.com, where I help you get the most out of the real estate market and your home. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and make sure you like us on Facebook so you don't miss out. Now, Milltown has been around for a very long time. In fact, all the way back in 1769 is when we have the first written documentation of a mill being in Milltown. That is when a gentleman by the name of Fulkard van Noordstrand put an ad in the paper that said he was selling a grist mill for sale that was located on the northwestern bank of the Lawrence Brook. Now, since then, a lot of fascinating and fantastic things have happened in Milltown, and I've got 7 of them that I'd like to share with you, and I think you're going to get a real kick out of them. So let's get started. First off, I mentioned the attack helicopter. Well, on the corner of Washington Avenue and JFK Boulevard sits a Bell AH-1 Cobra. Now, the AH-1 Cobra was the backbone of the U.S. Army's attack helicopter fleet. And this sits outside of the American Legion post number 25. And if you've never, probably you've driven by it countless times, I know I have, but if you've never stopped to get out and take a look around, because it's sitting right next to the Bill Thompson Memorial Park. And there you'll find memorials to Milltown residents who have served in combat going all the way back to the Civil War. It's really a lovely memorial, and I highly recommend you take a look at it. But now you know that that helicopter is actually a Bell AH-1 Cobra. Now, moving down the street a little bit, if you go up Washington Avenue just a bit, you're going to see the mill. Now, I'm intimately familiar with the mill because I sell real estate, and as you may know, the mill is made up of a collection of townhomes. Now, these are some fantastic townhomes. You've got, obviously the outside is brick. Inside you have brick walls and these, gorgeous units in there. But long ago, it was not always townhouses. It actually started off, it was built in 1899 and was the India Rubber Company. From there, it changed over in about 1901 and became a playing card factory. It actually had merged with another playing card factory, and it became the Russell Playing Card Factory, where they made playing cards, like when you're playing poker, games like that. And so that became a playing card factory. It was actually very successful for quite a time. What's fascinating is that this building is actually a National Historic Landmark. So this building where people go and live is a historic landmark, and it's fascinating that we've got such history right here in Milltown. Number 3 on our list, the Golden Lion. So right on the corner of Washington and Main Street is the Golden Lion. Now, you may know that the Golden Lion is famous for its wings. It has got the most awesome wings in the area, bar none. But did you know that the Golden Lion was actually built in 1903, and it started off as Sayers Hotel. In 1905, it became the Hotel Marguerite, and then in the 40s and 50s, it was the Findon's Tavern, or Findon's Tavern. Now it's the Golden Lion. It's been that way for quite a while. If you haven't had the wings there, I highly recommend them. They are amazing. This is something I found really fascinating. If you've been on Main Street, just keep going. If you leave the Golden Lion and make a left onto Main Street, first you'll see across the street is the office of RE/MAX Country. If you keep going down on the left, you're going to come up to Schwendemann's Taxidermy Studio. Now, I've driven by countless times, you may have as well, and one thing I didn't know, David Schwendemann, who was the son of the original founders of Schwendemann's Taxidermy Studio, they've been there for like 100 years, he actually was the last full-time chief taxidermist for the American Museum of Natural History. He actually was in that position for 29 years from 1959 until his retirement in 1988. When he passed away in 2012, they actually had his obituary in the New York Times. He was actually very widely regarded, and his pieces in the American Museum of Natural History are amazing. You can go online and look at pictures, and if it's safe to go to museums, I would definitely go check it out. But that's fascinating that such a large museum in New York City, the chief taxidermist is right here in Milltown. Now, this one I think is really cool. Did you know that Milltown actually had a drug named for it? So in 1955, Wallace Laboratories was in New Brunswick, and they came out with a tranquilizer called Milltown. They named it after Milltown, even though they only put one L in it. It was Miltown. Now, this drug took off. It was a tranquilizer, and it was actually one of the first drugs that was advertised to the public. So they had all these different ads they put out saying it helped with nervousness, anxiety, it was great for pregnancy, and that kids could take it. What was really fascinating was that Milton Berle, who was a huge comedian at the time, actually promoted the drug on his show, going so far as to refer to himself as Uncle Milltown. Now, if you don't get the joke, Milton Berle used to refer to himself as Uncle Milty. So here he is promoting this drug Milltown and calling himself Uncle Milltown. So that was fascinating. All tied to beautiful Milltown, New Jersey. Now, the Michelin tire company had a huge effect on Milltown, New Jersey. Here's what happened. On Ford Avenue, there was a plant there that had been making rubber. Michelin, the tire company, was from France. They found out that there was this plant available. They decided to open up production in the United States. They called this the largest tire factory in America. It was so successful that Michelin actually started building homes. They wound up building 200 homes in the area for their employees, and many of which, probably I'm going to guess all of them, are still standing and still being lived in today. The Great Depression of 1930 forced Michelin to close up shop, but they definitely left their mark in the area. You can see everything from many of the street names having French names in Milltown to actually Our Lady of Lourdes, which has been said was due to so many French workers coming from France to work in Milltown. So without Michelin, Milltown might not be what it is today. And finally, this one I think was really cool. Now, as you're traveling down Washington Avenue, you may have seen the Raritan River Railroad Freight Station. So this was a building that was originally a railroad stop. It's now no longer in use, and the town is in the process of preserving it. But did you know that Milltown, New Jersey was the place where the film The Great Train Robbery was filmed? Now, this was filmed in 1903, and this film is widely regarded to be the first American action film as well as the first Western. Now, it had a budget of $150. Now remember, it came out in 1903, so $150 was probably a lot of money back then. But this film was groundbreaking. It influenced many films that have come out since then. One of the things they did in the film was the famous making someone dance with gunshots, and they did that first. Another thing that was potentially influenced by the film was the James Bond franchise. At the end of the film, they show the character pointing his gun at the screen and firing. And many people believe that that influenced the James Bond films. You know, in the beginning of the films where James Bond goes, and he starts, firing. That's where they believe that came from. So all of that from Little Milltown, New Jersey. So listen, the next time someone tells you, Milltown's just a little town, nothing. No, you tell them, Milltown is awesome. It's got a fantastic history, and there's more to come. Now listen, if you have questions about Milltown, if you have questions about buying or selling homes, there's a fantastic resource. It's my website. You can find me at www.MoveMeMark.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you missed our last episode, you can find it right here. And here's another episode that YouTube thinks you should watch. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that circle and subscribe so you don't miss out. And I'll see you next week for more Monday Mornings with Mark. You have a great week.